Congratulations on the win. Are we interrupting you watching the fights?
Oh no, I'm just kind of taking it all in. Um, uh, I was planning on darsing that kid from the first time I knew I had to fight. So, which hasn't been long. It's only been 10 days, but I really wanted that dars, and I got the dars.
So talk to us a little bit about how the fight came about and why catch weight and all that. Seems like that's your trend now.
Yeah. So, like 3.5 weeks ago, my manager Jason asked me about taking this fight, and I said I would get offered a new UFC fight contract. So that was a big incentive. But I was about 30 pounds over, and I could have made the weight. But it would have been like really rough on me. And so then I told him maybe it's not the best thing for me to take this fight. And the next day, on my like kind of own volition, I called him back and I was like, "Hey, will they take it at 150?" And he said, "I'll ask." And 2 weeks later, still nothing. And then Sean was I know that there was a lot of cancellations and stuff on this card, and I think Sean was really trying to get this card filled up. And he was begging Jason for me to take the fight, and I told him I'll take the fight as long as they do it at 150. So that was when we finalized it about 10 days ago. But I knew about it for a few weeks, but I had to say no at first because I was so heavy, and so I was already trying to get my weight down. They accepted at 150, which is only 4 pounds heavier, and we're both featherweight, so I couldn't imagine why it would be a big deal. And he accepted it, and then and then we got the catch weight. And it's funny because a lot of people on Instagram was like, "What happened to your weight, man? You didn't make weight?" I was like, "No, I did. It's 150," but that's how that came about.
So can you tell us like the difference between coming into a fight at 150 and or having to weigh in at 150 rather than coming in at 145? Because to most people it seemed like you said it's only 4 pounds, but what's the big difference there?
Yeah, I'm 6'1", so like I think just physiologically my body can't handle being a 46, 47, 48, 49 comfortably. So that's why, we do the weight cuts and you're only at that weight for, a couple of hours. And so for me, well, and then especially short notice, a lot of these guys can, get these short notice fights and they kill themselves to cut weight, but how much are you going to perform? Are you going to perform 50% of yourself? So even in there a little bit, I felt a little bit past or a little bit behind the ball, but my cardio is so good that even then I felt like my cardio was better than his.
And are you kind of preferring these short notice fights over having a full camp? You have a little bit less time to worry about, sit there and overthink and overtrain, or do you like the longer fight camps?
I mean, I've taken so many short notice fights that it's just kind of something I get accustomed to. But it's nice because, like you said, there's less stress involved. The fight before this with Choi, I had 3.5 months, so it was like, well, I knew about the fight, and then I'd kind of feel bad if I was going to go enjoy myself. I'm like, well, shoot, it's 3 months away. Like I can go have a beer, I can go eat a burger. I've taken fights on 3 days' notice against Sean Woodson and had a 6-pack the weekend before and Taco Bell and was able to perform that night too. So, but I just stay in shape, and I do enjoy the short notice to a certain degree. Obviously, too short sucks with the weight. But I think 10 days was pretty perfect, honestly.
And when do you want to get back in there?
Oh man, I wanted to fight before the end of the year, and I got it really fast. That was the whole reason why I took this fight too. Was they've been booking out pretty far, November and December. And I'm like, well, if I don't get a fight, I might not fight till next year. So I wanted to fight before the year was up, and I got the fight. So, but I'm in pretty good health. Obviously a little banged up and stuff, but I don't think about anything until after the fight. So I haven't even, I've only had like, a few minutes to really kind of think about what I want to do next, because the whole, I can't think about what's after Jourdain if I don't beat Jourdain. And so all my energy, all my time, all my mental focus was just to beat Jourdain tonight. And then, maybe, in a few days I can kind of evaluate what I want to do and who I want to fight.
So I'm assuming you don't have an opponent in mind then, based on that answer.
I did. I was trying to get a fight for a while, and I called out that Steven Peterson kid, and I posted on my Instagram, and then I even direct messaged him, and then I posted on a picture. I said, check your DMs, and I was trying to fight him. I was looking for a fight, and he called out Nate Landwehr after his fight against Chase Hooper. And so, but Nate Landwehr got booked up October. So I was like, well, unless you want to wait till almost next year to fight, why don't we fight? And then this fight came around for me, so I just took this one. But I would still want to fight Steven Peterson. I think it's a great opponent for me. He's coming off a win against Chase Hooper. But, I kind of felt, I want to fight him now more because I felt like it was disrespectful that he just ignored me. Like, he could have just been like, hey, man, I'm doing this, this, and this. And I'm not like the type of person to be like, oh, you're scared to fight me. If you have things going on, you got things going on. We don't have to fight. I was just making a suggestion. At least just, acknowledge that I did that. You just ignored me 100%. So maybe Steven Peterson, but that's like the only thing on my mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You said you felt a little bit behind the ball. Was that because of the short notice or the extra weight on you?
Maybe just a little bit of both, but honestly, I think it was more of just the last memory I have in the cage is getting knocked out. So, it's the small things that you got to just kind of focus on your mind to keep you in the fight, and just kind of going back and just thinking like it's another sparring day in the gym. Jourdain. I was thinking Jourdain's a good opponent for me to train for Jourdain. So in my head, I just I almost like thought back out like I was at the gym getting ready for Jourdain against a guy that looks just like Jourdain. So I was like, kind of put me in that place of just of sparring instead of being in the fight, because the last time I was here, it didn't go my way, and so that can kind of stick with you as well.
Sure, no, that kind of brings up the question. So even going into this fight, even walking in, that last fight was still sitting in your head.
Yeah, and I try not to let that get stuck in my head. But regardless of how you were thinking, how your mental space was, it still happened. And so for me, like going to that fight, I felt confident the whole way through. The next thing I know, I'm getting woke up and I'm like, oh, what the hell happened? So, so it wasn't like, I got in there and got my butt kicked for 3 rounds. It was just something that happened. And so I got to take that with a grain of salt. Like, hey, man, I felt good, was in great shape, went in there and tried performing, and it just didn't go my way that night. But it wasn't like any big mistakes I made, or I didn't prepare myself with the cardio or anything. So it's just kind of those little things you got to kind of, push back there and not think too hard of.
And jumping back to your weight, you are a big featherweight.
Yeah.
At some point, I think at some point you did do some time at lightweight.
Yeah.
Is that the plan eventually, that you will make the move to lightweight? Maybe once your body starts having a hard time.
Well, we'll see. I'm 32 years old. I can make featherweight. I mean, I can make 150 pretty easily. Like, that's not a problem for me. And so, like, if I can just get over those 4 pounds, it's not a big deal. And if I have the time, featherweight's fine. The only reason why I ever did 55 was one was a short notice against Devontae Smith, and then I did the Ultimate Fighter at 55, but that's because everybody does the Ultimate Fighter, usually a weight class up, because I ended up fighting 4 times in like 6 weeks, and there's no way I could have done that at featherweight. So that's why I did that at lightweight. And a lot of guys that were on that season, like Billy Quarantello is a featherweight, Ryan Hall's a featherweight. You got Chris Gritzmacher dropped down to featherweight, now he's a lightweight again. But a lot of guys that were on that show were technically featherweights.
And you talked a little bit about how you were trying to get down to get the Dars choke.
Yeah.
What was the game plan? It sounded like you said that you're definitely trying to get him down to the ground at some point. Was that ultimately what the game plan was just to get him to the ground and work your submissions?
Yeah, I feel like I have an underrated ground game, only because I don't use it very often. And when you get in a fight, I'm one of the guys that just likes, I like to just get in the fire and just like let's just chuck him a little bit. I can get myself in trouble in the second round. I got dropped, and my coach was screaming to put my right hand up. But we knew if we could get him on the ground, it was going to be a wrap. But I just enjoy fighting so much that like it's not the first thing I want to do, and I don't want to make it desperate. I didn't want Jourdain thinking I was shooting on him to really get him to the ground. I wanted him to think maybe I was in trouble, and then kind of like halfway try to take him to the ground. So he's like, oh, he ain't got nothing. That way, when I did take him to the ground, he's like, holy shit, I just shucked off 3 takedowns, and now he's getting me down, because I wanted to really kind of trick him a little bit. I didn't want to give him a full 100% right out the gate. Plus, I wanted to make sure my cardio was going to be good if he was able to defend it, and and if I had to stand with him for 3 rounds. But once I felt his size and his power and his strength, I knew that eventually it would go to the ground, and I was able to kind of drag him to the ground like I did Sean Woodson. And once somebody starts to try to get up and they give their back up a little bit, I mean it's prime position for my long arms to fit under that armpit and lock the Dars up.
That's great. Yeah, I was just going to kind of ask you that one last one. If you could just walk us through how you set that up, because you could definitely tell that you were looking for it, because as soon as you heard him, it was a nice, smooth transition when you actually went into it. But just walk us through how you set that up.
Yeah, so most of the time in the gym, I'll get on someone on like a double leg or whatever it is, take him down against the cage. And I could feel he was kind of giving up at that point, because he was kind of halfway fishing for a guillotine, but he ain't going to choke me with a guillotine. We train with too many guys that are really good at that choke. So I knew if I would just settle in there for a second, he would eventually try to give his back up to get up, because I knew he thought he was going to win in the striking. And so I figured he was going to work his way up. And as soon as they give their back up, what I do is I just kind of put the pressure on them, and I let them try to get up, post on their hand, and then I'll just slide my right hand, which is my better side, and go under the armpit, and then lock up that Dars. And it's so easy for me to lock it up from weird positions that people don't think my arm's going to reach all the way. So since my arms are so unusually long, they don't think the Dars is coming right then. They might feel it, but they're like, oh, he's not going to get it. And once I lock it up, all I got to do is really drag them to the ground and wrap my legs around them. And even without the legs, it's pretty much 100%. But once I get the legs, it's over.
Congratulations on the
Thank you so
victory.
much.